Well, praise the Lord, saints. This is Elder Adrian Heyman, and this session will be another in a series on the study of Revelation. And currently we are on chapter number 6. Chapter number 6 deals with the opening of the 7 seals. Now, the seals are not the loud animals that you hear off icebergs or anything, but they are usually certain things that enable something of great importance to be closed. And the idea is that with each seal, only the person authorized to open the seals can do so. Otherwise, at least in the Roman Empire, if you trespass on someone who had a seal on it, then you were subject to actually execution. That's how much they considered proprietary materials. And in this case, it was a book or a scroll that was closed with 7 seals. That means that if you open 6 but not 7, the book remains closed. But in this particular book, a book that the one on the throne gave the Lamb. Now understand that that doesn't mean that it's 2 separate persons, but it means that God in his seat of power, and essentially the Lamb, who of course is Christ, that he earned that by his sacrifice on the cross. So he earned the right to open the 7 seals. And we've been through 5 of them already. The first one dealt with the rider on the white horse. In fact, the first 4 are usually deemed the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And it's usually a lot that is given to those 4, but not much is said about the other plagues that are to take place. And in fact, these are only the start of, and as Jesus said, that except those days be shortened, that there would be no one that would survive this. Mankind would be completely eradicated. But it's because of the prayers of the saints. It's because of the elect's sake, for mercy, that God lets some live. So that lets you know the time of the tribulation period is not a time to take lightly. It will most likely cost your life. And if you haven't made your decision for Christ at that time, now you have it right here where everything is pretty much free in the United States. And we don't want to go up to church. We don't want to get up in the morning. We don't want to do anything like that. But when the church is gone, practically the only way that you're going to be able to show that you are on the side of Christ will be if you die for your faith. And how many of you are ready to do that? Anyway, the first horse, white. The rider on it had a bow, but no arrows, no quiver. But he went conquering, which meant that he would conquer with diplomacy, with intimidation, but not with actual war. That comes in the second seal, whereas the rider or the horse is red, the color of blood, lets you know that all types of violence, not just war, but all types of violence, it would be in terms of warfare, it would be in terms of what else? Gang warfare. In terms of people that shoot people off the street. We see it now. It'll be raised a few degrees above that. The third seal opened brought forth a black horse, the sign of extreme malnutrition, where cells die. What's happening? Famine, worldwide famine, not just in the usual places, but in places that you wouldn't think there would be famine in. And yes, that includes the United States. fourth seal dealt with all of these factors leading up to and including worldwide pandemics, as well as wild animals being chased out of their habitat or now killing humankind in a more rapid pace. What happens with that? That horse is colored pale. And there are actually a rider and someone that follows behind. Death is the rider. Hell or the grave follows behind, collecting all the bodies of those who perish. 1/4 of the world's population will die. That's very sobering. Then the fifth seal comes in. No horsemen, no riders, just open the seals. But there are those who are clamoring for the Lord to take justice on those who will be persecuting persecuting people who belatedly thought, oh my goodness, we missed the rapture. That what they were saying was right. And they now try and they try as much as they can to hold on. But they're being chased from pillar to post because people also, I really believe, that people will be looking for scapegoats. Why has all these things happened? And they'll look at those, even though it has nothing, even though those that are here that may turn to Christ have nothing to do with those who have already left and were raptured up with Christ. But they will blame them, and they will hunt them down, and they will kill them. They will hold posses to try to chase them down. And this is even before Antichrist has a chance to consolidate his rule. So we see right now a messed up world, a completely, what you see is society on the brink of collapse. The economies of the world failing because of all the fear and all the death. But something else starts up now. Verse number 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal. There's going to be a lot of things that take place, and mainly signs in the earth and the heavens, as if they're expecting the coming of the Lord. They're expecting the arrival of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Because essentially, things become shaken, to say the least. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, number one, there was a great earthquake. Now, it doesn't say this earthquake was global, but it was a great earthquake. It would possibly be at the very least, a 9.0. And there's only been a few of those. Now, we've experienced earthquakes. Those that are situated, we live in what is called the Ring of Fire. That is essentially an area on the globe that essentially is the Pacific coast of North America and of Asia, as well as the Indonesian islands. That has always been an area of seismic activity. Although there have been earthquakes in the strangest places recently. Heard about a year or two ago, there was one in New York City. Earthquake. Wasn't very big, but it sure scared some people. But one of the biggest earthquakes didn't happen in California, or Hawaii, or Oregon, or Washington. Where did it take place? I believe that it took place in the South. Around, I believe, Tennessee It was the land dropped so precipitously that it created a lake, and the lake is still there. But whatever it happens to be, the earthquake will be notable. As I said, I think at the very least, it will be a 9.0, probably higher than that. I can't tell you if it's going to get to 10, but 9.5. There was one earthquake in recorded history, at least from what we see in terms of how people have been able to measure earthquakes. So 9.5 in Chile utterly destroyed several towns in the area. Now, it wasn't in a populated area such as the capital of Chile, or even if it was the United States. I don't know if the buildings that we have built in various cities, I look towards downtown Los Angeles, seeing all these buildings that have sprouted up over the last several years. Can they take a 9.5 earthquake? I remember looking at one of Japan's earthquakes, and you saw skyscrapers toppling on top of one another as if they were Lego blocks or something. So, wherever the earthquake is, it will be notable. It might be in the Middle East. It could be in Europe. We don't know, and that's a scary thing too. The earthquake is prophesied. Where it's going to be, we just don't know. And therein lies the scariness of uncertainty. If it was just that, though, we would just chalk it up to just being earthquakes. But then it says, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair. Now, when does the sun ever become black? For those of you that have studied your atmospheric sciences, you know what happens. If you studied your astronomy, you know what happens. That's right, a solar eclipse. Now, in the days of John, there were many people who didn't know what a solar eclipse was, and it completely frightened them. You took away the day. You took away the light. Oh no, the night's about to devour the world. People were very superstitious. They were very afraid of the sun leaving. So you can see that in many areas of the world, this would be just completely, especially after everything else has happened. The pandemics, the famine, the constant fighting and warfare. And now, it just so happens the sun goes through a solar eclipse. But at the same time, now you're at nighttime. It says, and the moon became as blood. It didn't turn to blood. It became as blood, the color of blood. And there are certain instances of a blood moon. Sometimes I want you to look in the sky at certain times during the year, and you will notice the moon as it comes up over the horizon, the eastern horizon. You will see that it has a reddish tinge to it. So it's not that the moon has never been blood red. Now, maybe the color of it completely, that might be a little different, but we've seen these things before. So it's not as though it essentially is rather unusual. It's an interesting sight to see and a mite unsettling, but we know that's the Earth's shadow as the other part of the Earth faces the sun. That doesn't take away all of the light from the moon, but it only ends up allowing the red waves of light. Now, the key here is, if it was just the earthquake, as powerful as it may be, one can dismiss it as something that would happen at some time in our future, or past or present. Earthquakes will happen. Solar eclipses, where the sun turns dark, turns actually not dark, but black. Really, that's the moon in front of the sun. And so it's not the sun itself turning black, but it seems like it, because it looks like as the sun's rays go out from the moon being there, it looks black. Then you got the red moon that's part of the lunar eclipse. These things have happened. People have went over, especially solar eclipses, people have went to various countries to see this amazing sight of a solar eclipse. As long as you don't use your bare eyes to see the solar eclipse, don't do that. That in itself is not a problem. It's just a phenomenon that takes place in God's great universe. But the key is, just as the famine and the pandemics and the outbreaks of violence are increased in strength and severity, and they all come together, so do these signs upon the earth. And these are only the first three. There are others that we will talk about at a later time. But just know that God will shake heaven and earth. He will cause the theater of the skies, the atmosphere, and earth itself to become witnesses of an impending event that is bound to happen. Everyone steps aside, because the King of Glory is coming in. I know that's not scripture. I'm putting one scripture with another. So Elder Heyman is not trying to quote wrong scripture. But I do know that the earth is being prepared for the coming of its glorious King, King Jesus. And all this, at least people feel it, is a part of it as well. Because if people don't understand what's been happening with wars, with famines, with pestilences, they will certainly understand when they see in the very heavens themselves that they're all coming at the same time. That is what differentiates these things from other occurrences in history, is all of them coming at the same time. And it's just not the three that I've mentioned tonight. There's more. And again, they all come at the same time. Why? To raise the fear of mankind, of rebellious mankind, of disrespectful mankind, of sinful mankind. It raises us up to a level never seen, just because everything happens at once. God bless you. Stay tuned for my next installment, because the sixth seal is not over yet. God bless you in Jesus' name.